Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the only live Monday through Friday lacrosse talk show on the planet. I am your host, Michael Karvelis, and this is Daily Dive. It is Thursday, November the 13th, 2025, and this show begins now. We are streaming live via the airwaves of North American Talk Radio on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to the channel before you leave today's show. On today's awesome episode, I'm going to first get into my 10th ranked NLL team. Apparently, people like to think I do things for clicks. So be it. We're going to keep on doing our rankings, and I will address the Twitter firestorm at the end of the show, so don't worry, I will take my shots as well. Then I'll talk with Cody Janzen of the Saskatchewan Rush. He does their play-by-play. We'll talk Montana Lacrosse League and the Rush and so much more. And finally, I'll get to our second guest today, Josh Blumenthal, who has a history in the NLL wearing multiple hats, including broadcaster. We'll talk to him about what he's seen over the years. Before we get started, I want to let you know that this show is presented by the Event Tickets tab at the Natter website. Head to natalkradio.com and click the Event Tickets tab today. When you get there, enter your favorites or closest National Lacrosse League team. Thank you for your support. I also want to mention this, that yesterday on the show, my connection was very bad in spots, so I'm hoping that does not happen today. If it does, I'm screwed. But for now, we're going to do our show. Okay, so we're going to start off with my team rankings. Now, in case you've missed it, I have unveiled some already. My 14th ranked team was the Calgary Roughnecks, who I gave a 3-15 record to. My number 13 team was the Philadelphia Wings with a 5-13 mark. My number 12 team was I want to make sure I have this correct. My number 12 team, was the Seals with a 6-12 record. And yesterday, I told you guys the Thunderbirds were 7-11 at my 11th best team. Well, folks, it's now time to unveil number 10, and here it is. Not sorry, honestly. I'm not. Let's break it down, though. Why do I have the Black Bears finishing where I do? Apparently, the record is going to chop off my ticker there, so I'll just leave the ticker off for now. That's bad. Okay, so let's talk about the Ottawa Black Bears. Obviously, I have them with a 7-11 record. I do like the dynamic of Jeff Teat and Rob Hellier. I think the addition of Rob Hellier is a great move by Dan McCray. I'm hoping he can ball out with this team. Also, Rob Hellier played with Toronto already, so he's familiar with the area, even though I'm not the best geographical person. Ace geography, should I say. Zach Higgins will, I believe, continue to be awesome. He makes some saves that make broadcasters just laugh and speechless. I think Callum Jones is a very nice addition when he's healthy. And obviously last year missed 9 games, but really came on strong on the 9 games he did play at the end. But those are the names that are going to stand out on the team. But I still think they're 1 year away. I think this will be very similar to last year, where with about 3 or 4 games left, they are fighting for a playoff spot. And I do believe they're going to fall just short. Full disclosure, the 7-11 record I did look up the tiebreakers thanks to an article by Graham Perot, of all people. Graham Perot helped me to understand the way it works. And let me tell you, once that head-to-head does not work, oh my, that was not fun. But I did figure it out that I have the Black Bears based on my pick, based on my season predictions. I have the Black Bears getting the 10th ranked nod over the 7-11, 11th ranked Halifax Thunderbirds. Like I said, I think the Black Bears are 1 year away, so it would not surprise me if they make the playoffs, but I do think they are a first-round elimination at best. I think they get into a single game. Anything can happen, of course, but I think that's where they peak. And like I said, I think next year Dan McCray will do more of his magic, which is adding more pieces. Again, right now, I still don't know if they can make it in. Like I said, even if they do, I won't be surprised because obviously 7-11 is right there on the doorstep, but I don't think it cracks it, and we'll have to see if I'm right or wrong. But that's the way I feel about the Ottawa Black Bears. How do you feel? And again, this is not just a Jeff Teat thing. And I do think Zach Hayden's goaltending helps a lot. As you'll see in my other rankings, I think goaltending definitely matters. But I have to do what I have to do, and Jeff T can be awesome, but will the team be awesome still stands to be tested and thought out. All right, folks, when we come back, I'm going to talk to Cody Janzen, play-by-play of the Saskatchewan Rush, who's also really good at radio. But I'm going to talk to him about that, and of course, the Crusaders winning back-to-back championships in Montana. Don't go anywhere. You're watching Daily Dive. We're just getting started, folks.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money, and we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Cody Janzen is back, play-by-play for the Saskatchewan Rush. The owner of the Crusaders, or GM, I don't know how that works. And, of course, you're really good at radio. You thought that was just an outro break. It was actually a joke. It was also on the graphic. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Happy to be here. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. By the way, the people from Montana already taking shots as they should. Dawson Nielsen. I don't know if he means that he's on the trading block, but he says there's a new GM on the block. So there's that for you. It is what it is.
Talk's cheap.
That's fair enough. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, man. Yeah, again, we're almost at the NLL season, so summer was awesome. And again, can't wait to get back in the big barn.
Hey, listen, man, the Rush, after a great season, I believe they should start packing the barn even more so. I want to ask you about this because I'd asked you about this off air before. That just Mike Messenger play, the more and more I think about it, where he closes the turnover that even the broadcast couldn't even catch in real time. Is that one of, if not the best defensive play in NLL history? I mean, the magnitude of the moment, like, how are we feeling about that play?
Yeah, I've talked about it in plenty, and I think it's a top three, like, defensive play of all time. I don't know if it's a top three play of all time, but again, I think what makes stuff like that so special and just showcases it, like, this isn't a shot at TSN for missing it, but like you see the
Right.
alternate angles that like 11 Creative got. Shout out Connor Tate. You know, the
Yes.
guy just crushes it. But like, it's such an impressive play. And just to think that if you don't invest in that type of media support, no one would have saw that. And that's where I think, hey, this is an unbelievable play. I think this is also a lesson that can be learned for everyone, and that you have to invest if you want to showcase your product, right? Because I think that the NLL, some teams do okay at it, but you really have to do a lot more if you want to compete with the big boys. I mean, I just think of the whole what if, like, what if Connor Tate wasn't there? No one would have saw it from that angle, man. Like, it would have just, you know, everyone would have just gone off of whatever was on the TV. Like, that's how I think of things. I guess
Yes.
from a play perspective, it was freaking incredible. Rush fans obviously loved it. It was
Everyone knows that.
phenomenal.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think of like the whole what ifs, and man, we are so lucky in Sask to have a guy like Tater.
No, I'm glad you went there, because it's even like if the person doing the production of the camera work is still great at their job. It's a lesson to not take things for granted. Because was it Ryan Tarafanko that had the ball, one of the best transition guys in the league? You can't just assume he's going to clear because Mike Messenger had other plans. I like that take from you. I thought it was great. It was like kind of like Will Chamberlain's 100-point game. If like we had a Connor Tate back then, like, you know, people would appreciate it more probably.
100%.
Let's go to Montana now, even though I didn't. That's a shame. The Crusaders went back-to-back, led by a man named Ethan Forgrave, who we'll get to. But what was your takeaway just from the Montana in the barn in general? How was that experience for you, boots on the ground?
Yeah, it was another crazy fall. That was, again, a lot of unexpected twists and turns, a lot of things that I don't think anyone could predict. But like, looking back on it as a whole, I think, again, it's another huge success. We continue to grow the game down there. You see the number of teams double. You see the youth lacrosse exploding. And like, I can't take credit for that. That's a Ryan Hanavan project, and everything that he puts in there. And he does it better than, I would say that there is no better youth lacrosse program for working with what they're working with than what Brown Bear Lacrosse is doing in Missoula, right? Like what Ryan Hanavan's doing, and it's just continuing to grow the game. We're just a subsidy of that. We're the ones that, you know, we're putting a product in there that the kids are able to now go and watch and see really high-end players, elite level players play in their backyard. And it's just growing the game of box lacrosse, right? It's, you know, they're not lucky enough yet to get an unboxed team or anything like that. They're not getting support from anyone else. It's all what Ryan's doing. And so the Montana Lacrosse League, we just want to be somewhere that, you know, those players, whether you're in high school, whether you're in college, whether, you know, you're aspiring to be a pro player, whatever it is, it's an opportunity to play. It's an opportunity, you know, where, you know, there's no team fees, no nothing like that, and you're playing for cash. And so I think that that's something that there's not a lot of opportunities like that, especially not in the time of year of October. So I thought it was awesome. Again, it's just great to see the barn packed again too, right? The fans are awesome. That's what makes it. It's that environment. It's being in the barn, having that place buzzing. Yeah, it's second to none, man. I've seen a ton of summer ball, and I got a hard time putting any of those atmospheres up with the barn for a championship game between the Rockhoppers and Crusaders.
And obviously, you know, people will talk about it as a smaller field, but I'm like, to me, that almost makes it awesome because, you know, a lot of these guys, like Jake Nisso last year, etc., a lot of these guys have not played box at all. And so it's almost like a fun little development thing, but it's so intimate in there. It's so, like, close. I actually like that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the negativity just comes from the uneducated, right? It's the people who, you know, their first reaction, for lack of a better term, is just to shit on things they're not involved with. And that's where, again, it doesn't matter what people say about it, because I truly believe that it's not going to be for everyone, right? Getting to Missoula, Montana is not the easiest. That's not for everyone. There's not $1 million behind it. We don't have the money, the WLA, the MSL, or certain teams at least have, right? So it's not for everyone because you can't just go and throw an unlimited bankroll at people, right? Like, oh, it's not 5-on-5. Okay, so it's not for everyone. That's totally fine. That's the Montana way. It's what makes the barn special. It's what makes the league special. And it does, make those field lacrosse players better at box lacrosse because they're forced to play in tight confines. They're forced to get hit into the boards. You can't hide like you can on a full, field playing 5v5. You can sometimes hide a defender back there. No, I'd put them right in the thick of things. Do you think of the Jake Nasos? I think of the Peter Currans. There's a lot of those guys who have, they've played high-end field lacrosse. Now they're becoming box lacrosse players, and it's freaking awesome to see because you can see it with the Grizz club team too, right? They go to Battle of the Border after a few years of just getting the break speed off of them, and now they're dominating some of the best Canadian junior lacrosse players. That's cool, man. That's something in my book that is way more important than anything that the Montana League, anything like that can do, because now we're showing, hey, these Americans can ball out. We've seen it at, some of the highest levels, and now you're seeing it at the lower levels. I think that's huge for box lacrosse.
One thing I'll say about it is if there was a barn equivalent in the Savannah, Georgia area, I'd be locked in year-round to that place. We have like the Jacksonville Swamp Pups school thing, which I'm going to honestly, because it's close enough, I'm going to try to get involved in a barn. Anybody would love a barn if there is, especially if there's no NLL team around them, which there's not in Montana. Like, why not? It's such a great atmosphere. I do want to get to this before we move fully into the NLL talk. Ben Foster, I guess, is getting a chance in Calgary. I'm not sure how that roster movement is working. What do you think Ben Foster, seeing him with the Crusaders, and obviously his game, I'm sure. What do you think Ben Foster can offer an NLL team like Calgary Roughnecks?
I thought they released him, didn't they? I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
They made a graphic, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. We just tell me in general.
Maybe I'm wrong, but again, I think that's a guy that's a no-brainer for a practice roster, right? He lives in Calgary. He's minutes away from the barn, and he's got all the tools you need to be an NLL player. He needs that coaching. He needs those reps. He needs that opportunity to get back to a high level of play again. But he proves it every summer, in the RMLL, that he's one of the best right-handed forwards. He's toe-to-toe with a guy like Brett McIntyre. And I think that those are two very similar players. They're both Calgary kids. It's crazy to me that the Roughnecks wouldn't keep a guy like that, at least on their practice roster, because if need be, that guy could step into an NLL game and be a depth forward. But there is Alberta, prejudice, bias, whatever you want to call it, anti-bias, where like, hey, if people are from Alberta, the lacrosse folks from BC and Ontario still just absolutely hate them. And so, like, it's the reason why someone like Ben Foster won't get a chance on other teams. And, similar things. We've talked about it with Ethan Forgrave before. I've seen you pumping his tires. I get to see that guy, up close with the Crusaders. And, like, I'll tell you for free, man, I've seen every lacrosse team in the NLL over the last 3-4 years. Forgrave could play on half of them, and he could play a pretty damn big role. Like, that's it just because he's an Edmonton guy. It's just because, maybe he hasn't. Well, he's coming off the injury, but again,
but that was a year ago.
And I've seen, we've seen some of the suspect players on practice rosters and even active rosters in this league. Like, you're going to tell me Ethan Forgrave isn't better than half a dozen plus of them? I think you're full of it. I know Patty likes Alberta guys, but I'm meaning people in management and coaches.
Yeah, of course. And again, just put the bow on this. I watching Montana Lacrosse League, there's a lot of newer players, obviously, but Jake Naso and Ben Foster and Ethan Forgrave, certain guys stand out, and that to me absolutely matters because they're clearly a touch above. Even if other players can get there, they to me are already there, and that speaks volumes about going to, like you said, at least a practice roster. So it is what it is. All right, let's do the rush now. You ready?
Man, I'm ready for anything.
Stars up.
I'm happy to be here.
That's right. So appreciate you. I'm happy to have you here. So takeaways from the Rush preseason game. I'm sure you've watched it back. It is available on NLL Plus for rewind, thank God. Pat Gregoire also wants to chime in that what player were you most impressed with in the exhibition game? I'll ask you again just general thoughts, and if you want to touch on that, go ahead as well.
Oh, who impressed me the most?
Ooh.
That's a loaded question, because I'd say that there wasn't a lot of the new guys who really impressed me. I thought that there was a couple of really good shifts that Julian Belair had. I think it's Belair. I could be mispronouncing that. I thought Dagan Carlson made a couple of great plays up front. I think for returnees, like Brock Haley just absolutely can rip the rock. Like that guy can shoot the ball so good. If he dials it in this year, like he's scoring 30 plus. And then I really like Matt Accioni's game. I thought that Accioni, if he can use his speed, if he can stay healthy, if he can, continue to up that physical presence on defense because he is a little bit smaller, man, he's going to be an absolute weapon. So, yeah, maybe not so much the newcomers, because the game was a bit of a sleeper and you can kind of see it from the start the toes were in the water, but they certainly weren't swimming on this one. And so I think that there was only a few performances that really stuck out. And I guess we'll see what happens in Calgary here next weekend.
Now that seeing Pat and you talk about Brock Haley, I feel like you guys just saw the shoes and it stood out to you. I don't know. Kidding. Jake Naso, to be fair, did play, and he was pretty dominant most of that game. I think Shiliano actually only played the first quarter, and then Rose played a bunch. So it was
okay. Let me give you your clip though. Here's one of my biggest takeaways, if not my biggest takeaway. I hate that hit on Jake Naso off the faceoff. When was it Grennan, whoever clocked him on the side of the head late there. I hate stuff like that. You have to give a damn if you're that, if you're wearing a sweater that's green on it and you see your face-off guy get taken advantage on a greasy play off the draw. I get it. Grennan's tough, crazy, whatever. I think that there has to be that buy-in factor. You cannot let one of your guys, especially one of your smallest guys, get taken advantage. I didn't like that. I hated the hit to begin with. Again, 5-minute major is an absolute minimum, but you can't be elbowing a guy in the head and taking advantage of him. And if you're the Rush, I don't know. Maybe I'm old school. That's an opportunity to step up and make an impact and show you want to be on this team and you want to fight for the guys beside you in the room. I didn't like how that one played out.
Maybe it carries over into the regular season. We'll have to see. And for the record, cause I know Tim Dillon brought it up last week on our show about the Las Vegas guy who's now been replaced by Hammer Jackson. Like you saw a face-off guy got taken advantage of in Ignacio. The team stood up for him. So I see your point with that. I like that. All right, so now let's get to – I want to talk about the Rush's future just this year. Everyone can say, oh, well, they're going to be awesome this year. Well, duh. But I'm going to ask you, what is the benefit of keeping much of the same core guys and not making many major moves unless it's just getting draft picks? What do you think? How do you think that helps the Rush by staying under the radar once again?
You just have to have a cohesive group to win in this league. Look at Buffalo and how long they've stuck together. Think about it. Go back to 2016. Dane Smith loses in that championship game. And even you go on to 2019 and stuff like that. But the Buffalo Bandits stuck together, right?
Yes.
And credit to Jugger, all those guys that have put that team in place and kept them together because they're such a cohesive unit, because they don't have to worry about chemistry year after year. That's what makes them successful. So if the Rush want to get back to the days where it was just automatic that Matthews, Church, those guys were leading the way because they didn't have to worry about chemistry, you need to keep the same guys around. You have to have them comfortable playing together. And now there's no excuses. You can't make an excuse for not being sharp night one. You better be ready to go, and you better be ready to compete because the league's gotten a lot better this year. The top teams have gotten a lot tougher, and now the expectations are a lot higher. Last year, you're playing with house money, getting to the finals. This year, the expectations, you're lifting a trophy in June.
Yes. And especially, I remember that iconic, because I was noticing in real time when, I think it was Shiliano and Quinlan just staring on kind of like a Stephon Diggs moment where he's just like watching the parade and they're visibly pissed off. Because again, that people don't realize the game 3 last year in the finals, the second half, it was like, what? You couldn't believe they got shut down like that after getting so far. So like you said, day 1 would be awesome. So how does, in your opinion, how do the Rush compare to Vancouver and even Buffalo? Because obviously Vancouver's out west. I know there's no conferences. But how do you think the Rush stack up?
I think they stack up the same they did last year, and it's going to come down to who's taking steps forward. I think you can look at that, and let's be realistic. Buffalo still has the better offensive pieces, and Vancouver has the top goaltender in the world.
Yes.
So where do the Rush have an advantage? I think it's their depth. I think it's top to bottom. That's a lineup who anyone can pop off on any given day. And I think that the Rush win if player 1 through 17 are battling harder than anyone else's depth. That's how I see it. It's pretty straightforward.
Yeah, like I remember last year, the Rush, I trusted them the most on the road. I don't know how the road record was. I didn't look it up before the show. But I trust them the most to stay together because you don't, like you said, you don't know who's going to step up. Which actually leads me to one of my final questions here, and then I have a surprise question for you. But who do you think might break out? Because I've heard a lot of Austin Shanks, and I get why people would say that. But do you think there's another player that might break out? Do you think Shanks even needs to break out? Like, who do you think could be the star this year?
How does Austin Shanks break out? He had
that's what I'm saying.
60 assists 2 years ago, and then he was top 3, top 4 in team in scoring.
Then pick someone else
overtime. Okay. Well, yeah, I'm not going with Austin Shanks.
Fair enough.
He ain't breaking out. I think you want someone like Brock Haley to take that next step. I think he's definitely has the opportunity to have a breakout year and play huge minutes. And I agree with Dawson. I think that Levi Anderson has that opportunity, but he's got to be better than Clark Walter. And you got to do the things that Clark Walter does, right? Clark Walter crashes and banks. Clark Walter scores clutch goals. Clark Walter is a versatile player who rarely gets caught on the wrong side of the ball. I think that there was a lot of good in Levi Anderson's game, and there's still things to work on, right? But that's a kid. He's going to hit. He's not a kid. It's a guy who's hitting the gym. He gives a damn. He is going to, work as hard as anyone to get better, and I think he's got that opportunity. But if you're going to tell me who's going to pop off, I'm picking Brock Haley 7 days to Sunday.
And Pat asked, do you think these questions right here are not my forte, so I'll just ask
Pat, I think the answer is no, man. Look at how many lefty D guys they got. I don't know if you want to play with fire. You've got guys like Boudreau, Barnable, already your transition threats. I think Accioni's going to surprise some people if he gets clicking. You've got enough D guys who can play forward. I think Levi Anderson, in theory, if they would have got him locked into playing defense last year, would have been awesome. But I think now you got to commit to him being a full-time forward. And that's my opinion.
I have a question for you. Are you an Oilers fan?
I worked for the Oilers, and so I grew up a Flames fan as a kid. I don't have a favorite NHL team. I'm not someone who's going to go buy a jersey. I just like players. But, I generally enjoy the Oilers now. I think that meeting a lot of those players definitely helped.
Sure. So I just got to ask you your general thoughts and excitement for NLL Unboxed this year, because I know you dabble in the Edmonton stuff. So, what is your thoughts on Unboxed game?
I think it's great, right? Edmonton's a market that the league should be in, can be in, has the opportunity to be in. I think the matchup's good. I just really hope that, the Edmonton lacrosse fans actually pull through, right? I think that Alberta likes to talk a big game when it comes to they want an NLL team. Well, show up, fill the barn, and you'll get an NLL team. I think that's pretty much a guarantee.
That's why I tell Philadelphia fans, you want to keep the team, you got to show up, man. I'm going to get attacked today on social media. Cody, thank you for your time, sir. I really appreciate your transparency as always. Let's, again, keep rooting for Ethan Forgrave and Ben Foster to get some roster spots. But until that moment, keep on doing what you do. In all the hats that you wear, thank you so much, sir, for coming on the show.
Hey, appreciate it, man. And a hat tip to you, right? I like that you say stuff that others won't in the lacrosse world. Keep it up. Keep having more guests on. Keep having that conversation. The game needs more of it, man. And I don't care. People are going to hate on you. People are going to hate on it. But the conversation's really good for the game. And I hope that fans, keep buying in, keep the chat buzzing, because it's awesome, man. We need more conversation every single day about the NLL for this thing to grow.
Roll crew.
You know it.
Cody Janzen, everybody. Guys, I'm telling you, that sports barn thing is so cool. So we appreciate Cody for joining the show. But you're like, that's it? No, we got another guest. So again, join the conversation. When we come back, Josh Blumenthal is on the show. He's a wealth of knowledge in NLL history. And we got to talk to him about that and some of your other things live here on Daily Dive. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
We're back, baby. Josh Blumenthal is here. I did my best on the bio because you've done so many things in the past for lacrosse. We dumbed it down. We went with former broadcaster of the NLL, high school coaches. That's lacrosse, right? Love that. We'll get to that soon. And former NLL assistant director of PR, which is a mouthful for the graphics. So we appreciate you, sir, for joining. How are you?
I'm doing great, Mike. How you doing?
I'm doing awesome. We appreciate you for coming on. It's been a fun show so far. See, I don't know how much heat you're gonna bring, but Cody brought some there. I would say. What do you think?
He's a hard act to follow, but I'm excited to join. I just, I want to echo what he said towards the latter part of that interview. Just the fact that you do this and you do it, I'm sure you're making millions of dollars, of course. You do it for the love of the sport. And I also think, you've only been into it for, 3-4, I think this might be your 4th season.
Yes.
And not only do you do it, but the wealth of knowledge that you've gained, and you don't even have a local team. I mean, you're 4 hours from
it sucks.
from the Swarm. So that's probably your one Achilles heel, but that's nothing you can do about it. So thank you for having me. And yeah, I'd love to talk a little history of the NLL. We talk a lot about the future and, with the CBA and, and all these different stuffs and drafts and all this stuff. But there's a whole history. This is, I believe, the 39th year. Wow. Commissioner Fruit said 40, but they started in 87.
So they're getting close. He's vague about that.
Okay. And, maybe he's saying they started planning in 86. So either here nor there, it's upcoming on his 4th decade. So been involved for quite a while, some as an exec, some as a fan. And here we go.
Silly, how do we get to the CBA crap? You know what I'm saying? So, again, thank you for joining us. We'll get to your current lacrosse endeavors, but I want to first ask you, because I love broadcasting. I like the play-by-play side. I believe you dabbled in the color stuff. Tell me about the broadcasting career for you. What years did you do it? Who was winning back then? How was that for you?
Yeah, it was great. I miss it. I did color and play-by-play.
Wow.
I don't know which one I was more terrible at, but I
did
like
like
both
more?
of them. I like the play-by-play for the simple fact that I could cut someone else off instead of the other way around. I feel like when you're an analyst, you got to always be very quick hits, and sometimes you got a good story. And so, it's just a little more nerve-wracking. Whereas play, you're just kind of telling the story, and you're like a second or two behind the play.
Was your son on the junior swarm team?
I saw his teammate Kai. Yeah, so he plays on the junior swarm. He plays on the junior seals as well. So we're still staying involved. Now it's the next generation of my son. So he does that. He does some field lacrosse, and but yeah, we went up to Canada for the junior NLL tournament this past year. And then he does a couple tournaments with the San Diego Seals. I guess they're called the Junior Seals out in California as well.
Put some respect on their name. That's all. I didn't realize the connect. That's an awesome connection I just found out. Thank you, Kai, for that comment. So who was winning in the league back then? Like, do you remember like a dominant team? Was it the Rock?
No, it was Philadelphia. So let's just start with a time frame, just so you kind of know. So I started as a fan in '95, and my coach in high school played NLL for 13 years. So I got him. His name is Gordon Purdy. He's the first ever Australian. In my opinion, I think he should be in the Hall of Fame. Awesome. Played 13 years. Was one of the all-time leading face-off guys. Obviously, that record's now come and gone because there's a few games. But I started, working in the league in 97 or 98 as an intern for the now defunct New York Saints. So from that to about 2006 was when I was really between the Saints, the New Jersey Storm turned Anaheim Storm, and then the league office itself. So just to give a time frame, the Wings were the cream of the crop. They won 6 titles, which I didn't realize till last night that Buffalo has now eclipsed them with 7. So it's Toronto and Philly have 6 each, and Buffalo has 7. But for a long time, Mike, Buffalo was the creme of the creme, both from a talent standpoint and also just from an attendance standpoint. They were it was a tough. Everyone uses the word barn, so I'll just say it was a tough barn to go into for sure.
Well, Philly, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So
sorry if I said, but I meant to say Philly. Sorry.
No, you're
Buffalo was good too. Don't get me wrong, but there was a couple years where Philly just was. They had the Gate brothers, and they just were on a tear.
Oh, do they have the attendance record? Because Thru did say that do they have more than 19,070, or like how is that record?
So if Toronto has the all-time single game record, but Philly's in like the top 3. As a matter of fact, when I was preparing for this, I was on the NLL website last night, and if you scroll to the bottom, they've actually updated the record book for 25-26, which is awesome that they have that. And so they have the attendance records in there. They actually put some cool stats. Who had the most sock tricks and who had this and that. So anyway, to answer your question, Philadelphia was the team to beat back then.
Is it pushing 20,000 or how? Like, what is that?
19 and change.
Wow. Okay, I did not realize that. Well, that's awesome. Like, how far the money is.
But you have to remember, and you may not know this, and I don't mean to insult your intelligence there, but there was 2 arenas there. There was the Spectrum on one side of the parking lot, which is where Rocky was filmed. And then there was it's been the First Union Center, it's been the Wachovia Center, it's been the Chorus Day Spectrum. Now it's the Xfinity Center. So in their heyday, they were playing in the Spectrum, which had less people, but it was still jam-packed. So it's a little bit of a skewed number, if you will.
Before we get to your PR stuff, what do you think was working for Philadelphia? I mean, I know winning, but I feel like those fans would show up if things are being run well, whether it be from the ownership or whoever it is. What do you think was working well? It can't just be winning, is it?
No, I think that always helps. But so let me take it back. So the league was founded by 2 guys named Russ Klein and Chris Fritz out of Kansas City, and they own the leagues. It was a single entity ownership. They owned 4 teams. It fluctuated, but in its heyday, it was Baltimore, New York, Philly, and I think maybe Buffalo. Buffalo came in '92. But so there was a team before that, but I think it was maybe Pittsburgh or Detroit. But anyway, when the league split to the NLL, the Klein Fritz group kept 3 teams. Philly was one of them. That was their flagship team. So you had people that had been doing this for years. Now, instead of putting their efforts into 7 teams, they only had to put it into 3. And then when they got rid of the Saints and they got rid of the, I believe it was the Ontario Raiders, which now has become the Rock. They owned all 3 teams. So anyway, when they got rid of those 2, they put all their efforts into Philly. So you had what was working, and they only had to put it into 1 team in 8 dates. It was pretty good. Now, the other thing is there was arena football, which is now not there anymore, but there wasn't as much competition. MLS wasn't what it was. And there's, just more 3-on-3 basketball tournaments and, all sorts of things that you're fighting for people's dollars. As a matter of fact, they used to have a saying, like this was their marketing slogan. It said, Major Indoor Lacrosse League will sell you the whole seat, but you only need the edge. And so it was just kind of, $25, come in, get a couple beers, have a fun night on Friday, watch a couple fights. And then afterwards, the big highlight for MILL was the post-game parties. All the players had to go. And so you got to party with the players. So you got to meet them. And then, they become your buddies. So you want to keep seeing them play because, they didn't have cell phones back then. But, you're following people that you met at the bar and you're buying him a drink or, whatever. So I can't tell you how many stories I've heard of guys that went to the bar, met a significant other that wound up being their husband or wife, as the case may be. So I think it was just a real more party atmosphere. That was the big thing.
I feel like that's more like a romantic comedy waiting to be written, but I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Love and the Cross, rated R. Anyways, so you obviously dabbled in the PR stuff for the NLL. And I got to ask you, what was your kind of job responsibilities without obviously making that sound too much, but what was your responsibilities and what was the league's like what were you guys pushing towards the fans?
So I started there working on the summers, doing an internship, and then they hired me out of college, which I did that for a little while and then got hired by the NHL. So I wound up moving up. At the time, there was almost every team was owned by NBA, NHL, or AHL. So it was sort of an easy transition. But I worked in the city with the commissioner named Jim Jennings, who's preceded the commissioner now by a few, and George Daniel, who went on to be the commissioner, and Doug Fritz, who was the VP of PR. So small league, we all worked together. And the big thing was, from the commissioner's standpoint, Jim Jennings, was keep the NLL relevant. Every day there had to be a new story on the website, a new original story of something. We had a PR scroller box that had all the stories. So I would compile all the stories from around the country. And it just was, keep things moving, keep things popping. Also, we had signed a deal with CNN SI, which went on to be a number of other things. Eventually got taken over by NBC. The Versus Network. It was Outdoor Network. Anyway, so that was the big thing, was just, we were expanding like crazy. We had gone to West. The Mammoth had just started. And so it was just keep the NLL in people's mouths. And we had weekly coaches calls. We had weekly PR calls. And it just was, keep the NLL popping.
I don't want you to say anything negative if you're not dabbling in that stuff, but do you think the league is doing a good job in this current state at keeping it in people's mouths? Because I think it's more of media members doing that, in my personal opinion.
I would answer it this way, and it's not a matter of being positive or negative. I would answer this way. I think that they have shifted their focus, which Commissioner Sakevich was very big in digital. That was his big selling point.
Okay.
I think that they have done a great job from the social media aspect. I think the highlights are great. They do some vignettes and stuff. I think where maybe they're lacking a little bit is in just getting it in the papers and online and stuff. In this IL Indoor and USA Lacrosse, and certainly one-offs like you and Cody and Pat Gregoire and Jake Elliott. So I think that they've just shifted their attention. But again, back then there was no social media; it didn't exist, so it was a little bit different. So that's how I'd answer it. I think that they're hiring digital people left and right, and they're very focused on the NLL Plus and the ESPN Pluses and the TSN Pluses and everything. So it's not a good or bad. It's just what they focused their attention on.
I know, again, since you were in the front office, you've heard those conversations before. I think NLL Plus is an interesting thing, because I feel like every argument against NLL Plus is always, well, YouTube's free. You can always say, I feel like there's for every argument you make for NLL Plus, it's well, YouTube can do that too. I know in the States, I keep saying that fans have no clue what this sport is unless they live in the Northeast. It's impossible to know what the sport is. How do those broadcast conversations work? Were you ever a part of them? How do those negotiating and broadcast stuff, how do they decide what to do with that?
Well, so we at the time, the league was a pay on broadcast. So we had Fox Sports, all regional. We had CNN, SI, a little bit of ESPN. We had the Score Network in Canada. We had TSN. So it was really just we paid the money and they took care of everything for us. Now I think the league is, because they're doing a lot of in-house, they're creating the content. And not that we didn't have to feed them some content, we certainly did. But if you're paying the money from soup to nuts, they're going to take care of the highlights and the intros and everything. And there wasn't really this, sometimes unfortunately on the ESPN Pluses I watch, the sound goes out. Well, when you're talking to network television, that doesn't happen very frequently. So there wasn't as much of hand-holding as I think maybe now. But again, that's because they've decided to go in-house. And I know this. They used to have a studio when Tyson Dyke was there and some other folks, Mia Gordon, excuse me. I think Mia Hamm stuck with soccer her whole life. I don't think she worked for the NLL. And so to answer your question, that is, I think, again, just what they've decided to do. What I would say, where I think the NLL is lacking, though, is I think the website is so outdated and there's just never anything new. And I think what's fascinating to me about that website is they'll put a story up, like a huge story, whether it's CBA or something, and either it's up there for a day and it's down, it's buried, or you'll have a big story and it just goes right to the buried spot, like other news. Like I just, again, we had it pop in, when you click on some of the team websites, some of them have updated stuff, some of them don't have updated stuff. Correct. So I just think someone needs to just really go through it with a fine tooth comb. And I know they have I've seen some gals' names that are working there, and I'm sure, they're wearing a million hats, like the commissioner said. But I just think from the eye test, I think maybe they're lacking there a little bit.
Fair enough. So let's get more positive now, because I know you do a lot for lacrosse now. I know your Twitter, you've been campaigning for people to show up to stuff. But let's talk about first your high school coaching. Tell me about the team that you coach and how long you've been doing that for.
Yeah, so for 25 years, I've been an NCAA coach / high school coach / athletic director at different spots. I've lived all over the country, just kind of riding the wave. Right now, I'm presently about to begin coaching at it's called the Fieldston School in the Bronx. I coach men's and women's for a long time now. I'm kind of just transitioning to the girls side of it. At just kind of a new, kind of reinvigorated me a little bit, just a newer game. So I've done that. I've coached at Delphi University the last 2 years. We've done the national championship the last 2 years. Wow. But really, as my son has gotten older and my daughter was not really a sporty spice, I've wanted to spend more time with them and just be a dad. So I don't coach my son. We just, we travel around. He's, I'm not going to say he's the creme de la creme, but he's been around the game for a long time. So, his skills are a little bit higher than maybe some other people, but that's despite his father, not because of his father's skills. So, so that's what I do now. So I'm excited to start that in about December, in about 3 months.
Oh, there you go. Is there any other initiatives that you're a part of right now in lacrosse, or just the coaching right now?
No. So there's an organization out of Irvine, California called the Pediatric Cancer Research Foundation. Okay. And they have an initiative started by a gal named Bonnie Lattimore. And it is lacrosse out cancer. So if you think of coaches versus cancer. So we travel all over the country we did a clinic for special needs, neurodiverse folks, all ages. My son and I, he does everything with me. So we do that. We also work with an organization called Friends of Jacqueline, which matches children with pediatric brain cancer and different teams. And you adopt them or you draft them onto your team. And so we've done those initiatives. So those are kind of the two things. But I'm always kind of working on helping expand the footprint of lacrosse. Just because it's done a lot for me. I've coached the Bermuda national team, the under-19 team, which let me tell you something. People say, the best coaching gigs are Hopkins and Princeton and Virginia. No, it's not. Coaching the Bermuda national team and getting to go to Bermuda a few times, that was the best coaching gig.
I love that. Who needs boosters, man? Come on.
Exactly.
I love it. So can we dabble in the NLL Do you have any opinions on NLL, on the teams right now, or do you kind of just observe? No,
I do. No, I follow the business side of them. You guys do a lot of stuff. You had Stamper on doing drafts, and I just don't follow that closely to know. Right. I look at all the business articles, and I love when the commissioner comes on or he speaks or other executives. I think the NLL Unboxed is cool. I don't quite understand it, and I'm a lacrosse guy. I get the point of it, but I just don't know if the rollout has been the best, because I've asked other people that are, in the sports world, and they're like, Josh, if you don't understand and you're a lacrosse guy, we don't have a shot. So I think it's cool. The logos are definitely good. I love how you went through and you kind of did a presentation maybe to them.
Awesome, dude.
So I think it's great. I just, we had our thing was called the Scoop and Shoot.
Right.
And what it was every arena did it. They hosted a Scoop and Shoot. You put 5-6 balls out. You time the kid. They start on one end of the goal. They go in a semicircle. And then we had the finals in the All-Star game, or I can't remember exactly what it was. And it was clean. It was easy. But it was very basic. I think what NLL and Box is trying to do is they're trying to get more numbers, so more people want to sponsor the league. I get it. It's hard to get sponsored right now when you have teams folding and expanding and not expanding. And so I think that's one thing that they're trying. I think the rollout. I think if everything was equal, they'd have somebody just in charge of NLL on Box. But they don't have the luxury of doing that. Like
Hunziker wears a lot. Kurt Hunziker wears a lot of hats. I've heard that too. So
yeah.
So with the unbox thing, because I think of my hope is that it becomes like a kind of a farm system, even though it's so many years away from that. But like obviously, let's say a team does get expanded to Edmonton if it's not a relocation. You wonder if there's gonna be like an adult version of the Juice logo, or do they just abandon that? Do they keep the colors? I don't know how that's going to work. I hope they have some things in their back pocket. But how do you, like, from a business person yourself, how do you think that can work? Like, I don't know even how to ask this. How would you do this stuff, like, with like putting this sticks in kids' hands?
Well, let me answer that two ways. I think the premise of it is great. So you called Edmonton Juice, right? So I think, if a team or an owner is looking at Edmonton and you've already got a base of kids wearing the logos and interest, well, then it's like, all right, they always say, you need a good arena deal, you need a good owner, and you need a good community relations situation. Right. Well, you've already got one of those done, which, if somebody has money, they have money. There's arenas, either you want the arena or you don't. The fans are what's hard. Obviously, butts and seats are what makes it work. So I think that's great. Again, I just think that they keep rolling it out. And I understand why, from a business standpoint, you want more numbers, more eyes on the league, so sponsors like it. But I just think that they haven't necessarily solidified what it is yet. I think a video would be great. A 2-minute marketing video. Just say, hey, look, this is what it is. They've done it for other things. That's where I would do it. I think the way that I would do it, again, is I would have it where here's how I would do it. Let's take Calgary, just for random sake. Okay. Mm-hmm. Let's say Calgary. I would have Calgary, but I would do it in Calgary in a neighboring city where you can have players come out and build it up. And then you can then have a portfolio and a footprint and then sell it to say a San Jose or an Iowa or whatever, because you have the players already in-house. Now you're trying to create it with people that may or may not even be Box people. Some of them are, but some of them may not. All those places, right. Austin, I lived in Austin for 5 years and I coached there. Austin does not have a very big Box footprint at all. So now you're having people try and coach it that may or may not be Box enthusiasts, and God bless them for doing it. I think that's awesome. They're spreading the game. But are you really getting the most bang for buck? So the way that Austin is done is going to be different than the way Edmonton's is done, is going to be different than the way Long Island is done. So I just think maybe they expand a little bit too quickly on that without getting it under control.
Agreed. Chris Fox, CLL, says they need to staff one Box who is going to the schools, especially the lacrosse. But yeah, I mean, like, that like the Powell lacrosse helps, but like how many employees are there? And I'm going to be honest, I'm very interested to see when I reach out to the Jacksonville Swamp Pups, whoever's helping that out, what this looks like. I'm curious to report on how that looks, because everyone's like, huh? Like, I'll put it this way, the Indianapolis Checkers, I don't know if you called that on social media. Mm-hmm. That was freaking awesome. Like, seeing the logo on a kid's jersey was like, oh, so there's fruits of the labor, but again, where's the expo? How did we get here? Like, why did they just randomly pop up? How did we get here? I think fans would embrace this even more if they could see that story.
Yep, agreed. You're spot on.
It's coming.
But we'll see. We're just along for the ride, right, Mike?
Right. Who wins the championship in the NLL? Just off the cuff.
This year?
Yeah.
I would listen from a storybook. I mean, no team's ever won 4 in a row. So, I mean, that would be really cool to see. From a practicality standpoint, it's so, I mean, the parity is just ridiculous. So it's hard for me to say. I think Toronto. I think given their draft picks, I think the resurgence with the new arena, I think the Oshawa rivalry, I think it gives them something a little fire under them to play for. Again, I don't follow the drafts. I just know what I see. I just think there's no shortage of talent in Toronto, in the Ontario region. So I'm going to go with Toronto, but I'll tell you who I think is a sleeper. You haven't done all yours, so you might say, Josh, this is my number 2. But I don't, because of how good the coach is, Malowski, Vancouver. I would think Vancouver could be a sleeper.
Unfortunately, they're not a sleeper. They're like one of the cream of the crop right now based on the roster. But it feels like Vancouver. I'm interested to see, because I do think it's like a 3-team race between Saskatchewan, Vancouver, and Buffalo. We'll see. Yeah, it's like I said. I was happy to see the Chiefs. I was happy. I wanted this Kansas City Chiefs to do that, but I was happy that Buffalo Bears were able to pull that off because I wanted to see a three-peat. I didn't care what sport it was, but in the NLL, it was pretty cool. And for the record, on this show, nobody's won besides the Bandits. So it is what it is.
So they should be paying you royalties, is what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, Scott Loeffler, I'm open for business. Anything to close with anything fun?
I got a couple of fun facts. If you have, maybe if you can give me another 5 minutes.
I'm a nerd. I like numbers. Go ahead. Give them out.
Okay. All right. So a couple fun stories. Yeah, I like that. Right. So the New York Saints, which again were on Long Island previously, they had 1 Canadian on the team, maybe 2. A guy named Jason Wilder, who met his wife at a post-game party. Then went on to Calgary, and I think his number might be retired. But the Saints used to outdraw the New York Islanders at the Nassau Coliseum.
Love that.
That was awesome to see. The New Jersey Storm, which obviously played in New Jersey, right in the Meadowlands, they would outdraw the Devils on TV ratings on Fox Sports. So there's been some good stuff. So there's one good story that, and this predated me, but they used to travel with the carpet, the turf, to place because they had no place to store it. So they would go.
The turf things are weird to me. Go ahead.
So in Philly one year, the goals didn't make it. I don't know why. So there's actually video of them using the hockey practice warm-up goals to use the hockey goals. Let me tell you some other ones. The greatest moment in NLL history, I'll give you that one, in my opinion, for what it's worth, right?
Okay.
Is the lockout happened in the NHL, and the NLL was able to take over that share of, I wouldn't say all of the NHL. And they had the All-Star game and the championship game on NBC, which nowadays PLL's on and, this and the other. But back then, it was the first time on network television. And Mike Doc Emmerich, who was the lead voice for the NHL, called both games. And I wound up running into him on an Amtrak, actually. And he said, I have to tell you, he said, I had so much fun with the NLL. He said, the guys are phenomenal athletes and the most down to earth. So if you get a chance, Dallas Elliott, who's, in my opinion, one of the greatest all-time goalies ever to play the game. He has a Hall of Fame Netminder 35 YouTube. He's got a lot of old videos, and he has the NLL championship and all-star game. And to hear Mike Emmerich is amazing. So, and then the last thing, this is just a funny story. I know somebody asked the commissioner recently, I think it was Gregoire and Teddy Jenner, who are phenomenal, about an all-star game. And, there's a lot of, and I agree with the commissioner. I've seen 2 all-star games, one at Mohegan Sun and one in Rochester. And Mohegan Sun, the boards were plastic and it wasn't a lot of fun. But I want to share a funny story with you. And for some reason, I can't find any film of it. But 1999, my coach, Gordon Purdy, was nominated for the All-Star game. And he didn't make the team. But then they had these 2 ancillary picks from the commissioner, and he was picked because of his community relations. So I said to him, if you make it, I'll go with you. So we go to Rochester, and it's in Rochester, obviously, back when they were filling that place. And so I'm on the field for the introductions, and I start to walk back to the seats. And the Philadelphia Wings, it was their coaching staff, so their equipment manager said, would you like to do the door? And here, I'm in high school. I'm a senior in high school. I said, yeah, here I am doing the door. So the final score was 25-24 Canada in overtime. There was one penalty called in the whole game. Too many men for the Americans. This guy right here. Thank God they didn't score on it. So I got on the stat sheet unofficially as the door guy. But it was an amazing, amazing game. And it was just a fun time. So, there's nobody that wants it to, I think, rise as much as you do. And I'd like to think I'm a close second. I'd love to see a team come back to the New York area. I know it's been a beaten, but it can work if it's done the right way. The last team was not marketed the right way, in my opinion.
Correct. Even with the seafoam green.
I know you like that seafoam green, like you feel like you're in a hospital. I know that. But I appreciate what you do. I appreciate what everyone does. I can't say every single person on here, but I love it, what you guys do. Again, my advice to the NLL, not that you've asked unsolicited, is just maybe focus on the print/digital media stories and having, like I said, Jim Jennings' rule was a new story every day. We want people coming back to the website every day to see what's up. So, but I'm a fan now, and I'm looking forward to a great season in, I guess, 2 weeks or so.
Love that. Hey, by the way, well, that's not what I wanted, but okay, thing. Here it is. El's gonna leave. Hold on. Al, come on. Long Island.
I don't know what the hell a moon jelly is, but it looks great though.
I know it, since you told me Seafoam Green looks like a hospital scrub, like now I'm screwed. I think this is beautiful.
Oh, I'm not saying it's bad. I just don't know what the hell a moon jelly is. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what it is.
We're the same.
But
love it.
Yeah. Well,
Thanks,
this has been awesome. I appreciate it, and I know we'll stay in touch, and certainly anything you have from a historical standpoint. I'm a wealth of knowledge with that. I don't know about anything else in my life, but with wealth of knowledge in NLL, I haven't figured out a way to make money. But I appreciate it. Look, I love the show. I listen every day. I love that you moved it to 10 o'clock, by the way, because 1 o'clock was a little difficult. And keep on keeping on, my man.
Keep sending the tweets that we didn't talk about. We'll send them anyways.
Sounds good, man. Thanks so much, Mike. Appreciate it, and best of luck to you the rest of the way.
Yes, sir. Josh, everybody. Hey, that was fun. Bunch of stuff there, man. But again, how do we get to this point, and how can we improve on the history and the things we did wrong and things we did right? I like that a lot. All-Star Game is going to be so fun. If it does happen one day, obviously not now, but one day. I forgot to mention this. Chris Fox said CLL said Dallas's YouTube is what the NLL Plus should be. Love that. Just all the history stuff on it, all the All-Star games. How the NLL doesn't have access to that, I'm not sure. Kai the goalie says, nice to see you. I still cannot believe that Kai the goalie had connections to this guy. That was so cool. All right, when we come back, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to take personal shots, but a few people tried to pile on to me based on a Brett Dobson quote, and I want to clarify some things on the way back, and then we'll end the show, but don't go anywhere. This is Daily Dive. We're going to wrap it up next with me addressing the Twitter allegations.
You're listening to North American Talk Radio, the all-new talk radio station featuring sports, movies, politics, mental health, and more. Check us out at natalkradio.com and subscribe today. Buy event tickets straight from our website to help the cause and get tickets to your favorite events for less. That's natalkradio.com. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to MyBookie. You're ready to create an account and start making money. And we're here to help. And remember, you can get a bonus of up to $1,000 on your first deposit. Now you're ready to bet. Just go to mybookie.ag, visit the sportsbook, click on your bet, and input the amount you want to risk or win in the bet slip. Yes, it's that easy. Just remember, at MyBookie, you play, you win, you get paid.
Pat Gregoire said he loved the Josh segment and he wants him to come back on soon. I agree with that. Josh is an awesome person to talk to, And I think, obviously, he's got more stories to tell. Not too many wives story though, but I still think they could be a romantic comedy, but that was such a fun thing to talk about, just all that stuff. And maybe some, like I said, more stories to tell, but I'm sure he's got some other thoughts on current things as well. So that's fun. Kai the goalie says, don't take it back now. I just want to get to how we got here, why I'm doing this now. So, yesterday, let me turn off this ticker real quick. So yesterday, and on yesterday's show, to be fair, I did say that Dobson was on the trade block. I will get to that soon, okay? So I made a tweet saying, is Brett Dobson on the trade block? It makes sense, actually. Little B emoji. And honestly, that was just, promoting. I honestly thought it would get some clicks. I did not think, obviously Brett Dobson helped us. I did not think it was going to be like that. I'm also very upset that the entire stinking segment was basically the Wi-Fi glitching. I hope it has not done that today. I feel like the conversation with Cody and Josh went well. So I'm glad that we got some more fluent Wi-Fi here today. But I don't know if Dobson's on the trade block. I do know 1,010% teams were asking and Georgia was listening. So even if he's not on the trade block, he's being passed around the yard like someone lost a puppy, okay? I'm not saying Georgia's going to pull the trigger, but darn it, if you're going to listen, it's kind of like being on the trade block, okay? And again, none of this is actually a shot at Dobson, as you'll see in a minute. But let's get to the next thing. He then quotes it. This thing's blown up crazy. He says, Michael, you're better than this gotcha journalism. I don't know if it's just gotcha, but go ahead. He's now on the trade. He says, I'm now on the trade block and will not be playing for anyone other than the Swarm. I love that. He says, I'm sure that tweet will help you get a lot of interaction. Again, I obviously, being in this business that I do, obviously you want to get clicks, but I'm also in the business of being right, and it is what it is. And then finally, I quoted him back again because it's just fun banter. I said, when rumors claim, like I just said, that Vegas made offers and the Swarm listened, fans, I think, deserve that conversation. And even if the guy doesn't get traded, I don't want him to get traded. But I'm not ignorant to how sports operates. I said, I'll be happy to see you if you own the Swarm goalie when I go to some games this year. And he ended up making a great point. They've been inquiring since the 2022 draft when Georgia had the 11th pick. The answer still has not changed. I love that. First of all, I want to give a major shout out to Brett Dobson for chiming in and keeping it fun. So, I'll now get the comments from you guys, and then I'll address some things that were said online on the pile-on. But let's get to the comments from you guys first. Chris Fox says fans want lacrosse to be the next major league, but cannot take major league speculation, analysis, and dialogue. Agreed. Kai the goalie says you would have to be dumb as a GM not to ask for Dauber. I also agree with that. Like, if you can kick the tires, do it. Now, I also found it very, very, very interesting the people that decided to pile on the hate Mike train after Dobson said these things. Folks, my extent of meeting Brett Dobson, I think it was either a fist bump or a handshake, but it was cool. We were just respectful when I did actually get to talk to him. It was very brief. He has been super cool as far as other times I've interacted with him in the past on social media. And I'm not friends with the guy, but I root for him. I also believe that Brett Dobson, I think that he has an excellent work ethic. And I think Brett Dobson is going to be awesome. Even if it's not with the Swarm, or if it is with the Swarm, I hope it is with Georgia. Okay? That being said, the people that took shots at me, especially from the media side, you are absolutely freaking hysterical, and I mean that disrespectfully. There are so many people that want to see me fail. And again, this all stems, I'm a person who personally attacks people supposedly because I say, and there's just the history of my takes that have gone off the rails, okay? Frank Giuliano's not the goalie of the year. Wow, shoot me. Jeff Teet's not the best player in the world. Seems like a lot of people don't really say that he is anymore. Dane Smith was 0-2 or 0-3 in the finals before he went right off 3 straight. Was that not true? Yes, it was, but was it a personal shot? No. Let's do some more. Rod Chester to Grand Rapids. Okay, I had a bad report. How dare me? Like, we can do this all day long. Or my favorite recently was Ian McKay taking a jab at me because I swore to tell the tale that Six Nations pays the heck out of their players, and that's how they win a championship. Leading to the point where somehow the Salmon Bellies blocked me. I don't even know how I even earned that right. Okay? But this is also the social media crap, okay? One player has some fun with the quote and tries to, like I was telling Frick in another reply, I said, Frick, players are supposed to say those things. I get it. And again, even if Dobson's not on the trade block, he's still being shopped around like he is, okay? And that's just what fans deserve. But for media members who don't like me to pile on, buddy, you are funny. You wish you had the platform like I do right now. I see the podcast. I see what you tweet out. I get it. It hurts, okay? But sometimes I get tired of seeing it over and over and over again. And again, using what he said to pile on, well, I'm a bad journalist. Like, come on, man. And by the way, one last thing I'll say, and just because I think it's dumb to just keep on talking about it. I did not go to journalism school, and I'll say this out loud. I don't have a GED, nor did I graduate high school. I got bored once I got homeschooled, okay? I'll say that out loud, okay? So the jokes on, like, much like the mom's basement thing, I call it my mom's attic because I'm in my room right now. Yeah, I'll say it out loud. I'm transparent, and I don't take personal shots. But I find it funny when people who are supposed to be professionals, when people who have the opportunities that I do not sometimes, I find it funny when they take shots. Like, wow. I'm on here giving sports opinions, and one player decides to talk about me, but oh man, it's time to say why we don't like Mike. Dude, come on. The whole conversation was the Georgia Swarm, okay? That was it. Like, grow up, people. Like, I'm not a journalist. And the future of the NLL and of media is people who are not journalists, okay? I don't have to have a plaque on my white banner back here that says GE, that says bachelor's at Cornell, or not Cornell, but just any of them. I don't have to have that. It's fine. Like, we can talk. Let's grow the game. Let's have some fun with this, but let's not do the whole pile. I think it's dumb. I think it's silly. And I also believe that in 24 hours, no one, including myself, is going to care. See how that works? Like, Twitter is such a fun place, but one viral tweet that gets tens of millions of views or likes, it ends up dying out in 24 to 48 hours. Wow. I just think it's fun. So, yeah, I'm excited for the NLL, and I hope that you guys are too. And, again, I'm very happy to have you on the show to talk NLL because, again, I think more opinions definitely matter. But let's be a little bit cooler. Like, let's just have some fun with this. And, again, thank you for Brett Dobson. Because ironically, that actually did get me clicks on that show, but that's in the story for another day. You guys have a great day. That was fun. Thank you so much to Cody Janzen and Josh Blumenthal for that. And also, stay tuned tomorrow for my final team that I picked to not make the playoffs in the next week. We're going to have so much fun with more guests as well. This has been Dilly Dive. You guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for the comments as well. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place, North American Talk Radio on YouTube. Bye.